But at any rate, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out. And I want to begin our conversation with what we've all lived through for the last 3.5 years, which has been
Yeah,
the
for sure.
pandemic. How did you survive the pandemic and how did it change you?
Oh, that's a great question to lead off with. Wow. So I guess the biggest piece of that is I ran a 15,000 square foot gym for 18 years. And March 17th, 2020, we got the order. It's over. Shut her down. Thou shalt not allow people in thy building, etc. And so for the first day and a half, I was like, we're going to fight it. We're going to not fight it in the sense of not listen, but fight it in the sense of we're going to do at-home programs and at-home workouts. So we do a 6-week basement challenge and we're going to video all these things. We're going to do all this stuff. And after about a day and a half, I kind of got this powerful feeling. I don't know where you're at, but like straight from God or source or whatever that said, just stop it. Just stop. And I was like, whoa. And I looked at the numbers and I realized there was no way. There was no way we could survive. Like even if our at-home stuff was unicorn fairy dust successful, we would lose the building because the payments like empty. It's 15 grand a month. So even with all of the COVID stuff they promised, it was still because anyway. So I realized this was over, and so I told my staff, and I talked to my accountant and business coach and stuff like that, and we shut it down, sold off all our equipment, and within a little over a month, we'd sold off almost $500,000 worth of equipment for a couple $100,000, paid off some bills, and found a renter for the building to take it over, so we weren't stuck with an empty shell. And I went home to my family and was like, okay, now what am I going to do with my life? So it was interesting. Yeah, really interesting times.
So let's get to what you're doing right now. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids, third graders. It's career day. And one of the kids is curious and says, what do you do for a living? How would you answer them?
I love what I get to do, and I'm a coach. I'm a health and nutrition and fitness coach. I coach endurance athletes. And when I shut down the gym, it just started to look different. So instead of being a health and fitness coach in a great big building with 27 staff and 1,000 members, it's one-on-one from a small room, some one-on-one people. I've renovated my garage. So I still train people. I still coach people. I work with mindset. I work with nutrition. It's just not in a big building.
Yeah. So what did you want to be in the third grade? What was your dream to grow up and become?
Oh man, back in the third grade, I just wanted to survive.
Yeah.
A little challenging when I grew up, but yeah, no, I just wanted to get through it. Third grade, yeah, I was just trying to survive. But
So let's peel back the layers a little bit. Tell me how these seeds of fitness and coaching, and I mean, you're not just going into a job, you're an entrepreneur, you're helping people. How did that become something that was kind of a mantra for you?
I think for a lot of people in my position, we go from mess to messenger.
Yeah.
Right. We're a train wreck because everything was hard and challenging. And then we somehow find our way through it and think, man, I can't believe I made it through all that. And then you see other people struggling with it and go, well, I could maybe help you. And it just becomes that motivational piece, right? Like I was in architecture for 13 years. I sat at a desk. That's what I did out of high school. I went into architecture because my guidance counselor and everybody said, you've an aptitude, you should do this. So great. I went into architecture, was an architectural technologist, working in a very successful firm. And I got really fat and sick from nothing but deadlines and stress. And a doctor said, listen, kid, you're 39. You're not going to make it to 40 if you don't smarten up. Actually, sorry, I was 29. I wasn't going to make it till 30. Holy cow. I was like, wait, it was before that. Yeah. So he said, you need to smarten up. You need to eat right and exercise. And I didn't know how to do that. And I found a trainer, found a gym, started to learn, got all of a sudden in the best shape of my life, went from Pillsbury Doughboy to six pack. And everybody in the 50-person office was like, hey, how did you do that? Can you help me? You look amazing. So I started coaching people. And then I got certified as a trainer, started working in a gym part-time. And I was like, I really love this. And I quit. I quit my career 2 weeks before being an associate partner in the firm. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm on the top of the ladder on the wrong building. I gotta go. And so I went to work at a gym and then eventually built my own.
Wow. So who's been a hero? Who's been an inspiration for you to overcome all of these things and to find what your real true meaning is in life?
There's been a ton of them. In the beginning, when it comes to the fitness world, Bill Phillips was huge. He ran EAS supplements back in the day. He was a big influence. But there's so many other influencers. I mean, Rudy from, that great movie about his self-tamed
Oh yeah.
Rudy Rudiger, right? So huge. I never really play football, but like remember the Titans, and that's all pretty good. Will Smith has got an amazing story. Even Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent has got, I'm not
Yeah.
rap, but his story is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there, Tony Robbins. I remember finding a Tony Robbins cassette tape on the ground somewhere, like in the early 90s, and I played it and I was like, holy crap. But then I got the full cassette series, like 24 cassettes. And so Tony Robbins has been a huge influence. So there's been a lot.
That just proves how long he's been around. I'm always amazed at how, because when I was a kid, he had the infomercials and you thought it was a flash in the pan. Is this guy going to stick around? So that's a testament right there. If you found a tape, that's from a long, long time ago.
Yeah. He just
um,
did a sold out stadium thing like a week ago. He's still cranking.
yeah, and he's in popular media. People reference him all the time. And you think, there's that stigma. Like motivational speakers kind of have that big mega church kind of pasture thing. There's a potential that you're thinking, okay, what's up? But Tony's always just risen to the top. He's always been the guy that's stuck around. He's true and he's real deal. So,
Yeah.
it's funny you mentioned Rudy. I did some correspondent work for a station called Current TV after the 2000 election. Al Gore split off and made a network, and it was all full of correspondents around the country that just had mobile devices. I mean, you can be a journalist with a phone, and I really loved Rudy. It moved me profoundly, and I pursued and pursued and caught up with him and got an interview with him. And you'll appreciate this kind of, he was getting ready to go to the gym and I got my time zones wrong. And I called him up and it was like 4 a.m. in Vegas. And he was Rudy though. He was totally cool. He's like, who is this? And I was like, this is Joe. I'm in Kansas City. I'm here to interview you. Oh, do you realize what time it is? And I was like, it should be 6 a.m. And he was like, no, it's 4 a.m. here in Vegas. But he was totally cool. He did the interview. And yeah, I really genuinely saw what we all got to see in that movie in 5 minutes. He was gracious, he was inspirational, he was ready to go. So anyway, he's a cool cat for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I align with people like that, right? I mean, I went through a bunch of crap, bunch of challenges. I mean, I tried to commit suicide when I was 13, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, it made me stronger. I
Yeah.
didn't quit. And it was funny. It was actually at a personal development course, like a Tony Robbins weekend kind of thing, put on by a man named T. Harv Eker called Enlightened Warrior Training Camp. And there was this assignment you were supposed to do that was a very physical thing. And I kept failing. I kept falling down and falling down and falling down and falling down and falling down. And at the end, in the sharing circle, my partner said, I want to acknowledge Scott. And I was like, what in the hell could you possibly acknowledge? I sucked at that. I failed 50 times in an hour. Well, what could you acknowledge? And he had tears in his eyes. He says, I've never, ever seen anybody so determined and stubborn. He never gave up. Every time I knocked him down, he stood up and said, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this again.
Yeah.
And he's like, I've never seen anybody with that much willpower. He will not quit. And I thought, holy crap, I have been looking at my whole life wrong. I looked at my life as like, you're such a loser and you're such a failure and nobody likes you. And it's like, wait a second, you're as resilient as it gets. And
Yeah.
that became now my strength, is that I'm really resilient.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you could meet any of those people that you mentioned or anybody on the planet right now and spend some time with them, who would you love to meet and talk to?
Oh, I mean, I'd love to sit down with Tony Robbins. That would be insane, obviously,
Yeah.
because, he would have a lot to give. Matthew McConaughey would be an absolute kick. Will Smith would be interesting. Rudy Rudiger would be
Yeah.
amazing. Like, yeah, there's so many. The list is powerful and long. There's so many people that'd be just amazing to talk to. Yeah, Jim Carrey on a funnier level, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's been the best advice you've ever gotten?
Best advice I've ever gotten. That's a really good question. Wow, there's so many things like never surrender. Forward is a pace is something one of my buddies said to me when we were racing at Ultraman. He's like, forward is a pace. And that's one of my, I hang on to that a lot. You know, I mean, it was like, as long as you're moving forward, doesn't matter if it's an inch or a foot or 100 feet, forward is a pace. Like just keep moving forward. Um, there's one of the sayings, so I call my company Warrior Code Training. That's my coaching thing, and it's from a it's from a line in a song by Survivor in the Rocky IV soundtrack, and it says,
Yeah.
"In the warrior's code, there's no surrender. Though the body says stop, the spirit cries never." And that's, to me, that song gave me advice. It's just
Yeah.
like, there's no surrender.
Yeah. So what is it every day for you? What's the motivation for you to get out of bed, to motivate others, to be who you are? What is that for you?
There are lots of layers to it. I just see a lot of people struggling, and I just want to help. I mean, I'm really fortunate to live my life being healthy and fit. I'm mid 50s now, and I had a near death crash at a race and wasn't supposed to, do what I've been able to do. And so I just want to inspire other people. I want to help because it's a mess out there. They don't know how to eat. They don't know what to choose. They don't know which diet's the best. They don't know where to go. They're feeling overwhelmed. And I love to help with that. I love to get up every day and go, okay, how can I create something really powerful that's going to get people to their next level, to keep people moving forward?
Yeah.
And I also still race. I compete in Ironmans and stuff, and I still love to train and have
So,
a great family.
yeah, for sure. So let me ask you this. If you have a dream tonight and you ran into the version of you from like a senior in high school, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom you've gained in your life, the things that you've overcome and succeeded in, what advice would you give that young version of you?
Hmm. I think I would probably just say, I know this is hard and it's making you stronger, and you're going to be so powerful later. And
Yeah.
so every moment that this is really hard, quietly inside you, I want you to smile because it's making you stronger.
So as a coach and an inspiration to others, you've written a lot of help people write a lot of stories. What's been the best success story you've been involved with?
Oh, I love that question. And there's so many to choose from. Holy crap. I'd say one of my best success stories is a guy named Lyle, and he was about 350 pounds. And he was this really unique character. He could make model airplanes that looked real.
Yeah.
Like he airbrushed them and with the magnifying, do all the little detail. He would paint logos on the sleeves of the character. I mean, you're talking about a character the size of your pinky finger, right? Not
Yeah.
even. And then he would go to an Air Force base to an air show, and he would meet one of the pilots and gift them this plane that took him hundreds of hours to build.
Yeah.
And so that word spread, and pilots actually started making requests. Hey, this is my actual jet that I fly in the Canadian Air Forces. Can you paint this? Yeah, and he would do it. He refused to charge them. He did that for years. And they're like, well, what can we do for you? Can we give you a flight and simulator or a simulator ride? Can we do this? Can we do that? Can we do this? And after a while, he'd done everything. He joined the reserves as a volunteer. He'd done all these different things. And they said, is there anything else we can do for you? You're just amazing. And he's like, wow, it's ridiculous. And they're like, what? He's like, well, I'd like to go for a ride an F-18 Hornet in the back seat. And they're like, that's not impossible. He's like, really? He's like, yeah, you have to pass all these courses and do all these things. But the guy was blunt. He looked at me and says, and the weight limit for the cockpit's 225, and you're not going to fit in the plane. So I started working with him when we brought him down to 225 from 350, and he went for his jet ride.
Wow.
Most amazing experience of his life. But as soon as the jet ride was done, he gained it all back.
Wow.
And it was a couple times that we had lost connection. We reconnected later in his life, and he had gotten to the place where, okay, this time he wanted to change for himself. And he dropped down to 180, 190 pounds. And he's been there now for over 10 years.
Wow.
So it was a real change. It wasn't an external, I need to do this to get there. This was, no. I need to be different. And he is. It's phenomenal. And there's multiples. That's one of my favorite stories.
That's a great story, man. That's a great story. So, of all of the things that you've done, aside from like your personal life and your family, What is it that you've done that you're the proudest of?
What is it I've done that I'm proudest of? And aside from myself and family, not sure. Like,
Well, no, I guess professionally speaking.
hmm, professionally, I've done some really great talks. I love to speak to crowds, and I've done some pretty good stuff there. You know, I compete in ultra distance triathlon, and at the Ultraman World Championships in 2015, I was 10th overall, hunting number 9, and I cartwheeled down a bridge at 45 miles an hour, 70 kilometers an hour, and I broke my arm in half and shattered my shoulder and broke my ribs and busted my knee and cracked my skull open, exposing my brain, whiplash, split the side of my face open. It was a thing. I almost died and stuff like that. And the cool thing about that is we happened to have been making a documentary at the time. We thought we'd make this cool little 20-30 minute documentary showing how Ultraman's this great race that nobody's ever heard of. It's 2.5 times longer than Ironman, and it's just quietly done. There's only 40 people invited in the world, and it's this quiet little race. We thought we'd make this neat little documentary. And then the plot changed.
Yeah.
And so then my crew they knew me enough to know just film what's happening. And so we then made a film that instead of taking 1 year, took 5 years, and we filmed the recovery to get back to the World Championships in 2018, where I finished 25th on the world, in spite of doctors saying you'll probably never race again. I mean, my shoulder was shattered, like it had metal parts in it, stuff like that. So that documentary has inspired so many people now around the world, and that makes me feel pretty good. It's free on YouTube. I don't try to whatever. It's just free. It's so I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud of the film that we made, because it shows the power of family and friends, and it shows what never giving up looks like.
Yeah. Wow. So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, fans, everyone, clients, colleagues, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
That's still a work in progress. You know, Joe, like one of the things I talk to people about is self-love and how it's really important to love yourself. And I mean, I remember I've been married for 31.5 years. And I remember I was in college with my wife, and we were at a ski trip. There was a condo full of people from college, and we were hanging out in the bathroom so we could chat alone. And at the time, there was only a few people in the room. She goes, "Oh yeah, I love this many people in the room." And it was like, I did the math. I was like, "What do you mean? That's not possible." And she goes, "Oh yeah, well, I love my sister, and I love this, I love you, and I love myself." I was like, "You can't love yourself." And she's like, "Yeah, you can, don't you?" I was like, "No, I'm a loser. Oh my God, I hate myself. I'm terrible. I'm such a like," and that was true for me in the 80s. I didn't think it was possible to love yourself.
Yeah.
And that's something I had to learn. And I remember the first time I was at another personal development course, and they said they had this assignment where you had to look in the mirror, say your name to yourself, and say, "I love you." And I felt like I was vomiting an apple whole. I couldn't say the words. I tried for a week and I couldn't
Yeah.
do it. I couldn't say I love you to myself. And
Wow.
so it's taken a lot of years to work on that. And even now, like if I look in the mirror, I go, "Hey, you're pretty good. You're all right. Like you're coming, you know." So I feel like I'm a work in progress.
Yeah.
I still think there's room to grow.
Yeah. So if anyone out there wants to hire you, learn more about you, anything about your world, where do they go? What's the best way?
My website is scottyfit.com, SCOTTYFIT.com. That's where you can grab the link for the free access to the 82-minute award-winning documentary. And I do 21-day nutrition reset. I do a 6-week program. I do one-on-one coaching. So yeah, scottyfit.com.
Wow, what a wonderful story, man. Thank you so much for opening up. Thanks for your story, and have a great holiday. Best of luck with everything.
Thanks, Joe. It's great to chat. You've got lots of great questions.
Thank you, sir. Take care.